Other person who's in the news this week as an obvious contender for the nomination is Gavin Newsom, who went on Sean Ryan's podcast and absolutely dissembled over the question of transition procedures and surgeries on minors as young as...
Gavin Newsom is the kind of politician who seems to believe leadership is measured not by results or vision, but by how much hair gel you can squeeze into a single day. To him, California isn't a state. It's a glossy set piece where he performs as America's most glamorous governor, all lights, no substance. And Megyn Kelly has had enough of the act. She rips through his polished surface, exposing a man who treats disaster like an accessory, incompetence like a personal brand, and every crisis like an opportunity for another photo op. Newsom talks as if he's a bold visionary, but Kelly makes it clear he's really just a slick salesman, endlessly confident, selling a shiny product that falls apart the instant you take it out of the box and actually try to use it.
So he went from people who liked Gavin Newsom, liberals, saying, I have a very favorable opinion of him. At 46%, it fell to 30%. So Charlie's correct. He's hurting himself with his liberal base by doing these interviews of people like Charlie and Steve and Michael Savage. It's because the thing about Gavin Newsom is he's not very good at pushing back. So he's not going in there and doing battle with the Charlies and the Bannons of the world. He's somewhat obsequious.
Kelly doesn't stop at the surface. She plunges straight into the contradictions that define Gavin Newsom. He struts across the national stage as a progressive savior, yet presides over one of the largest mass exoduses of citizens and businesses in modern American history. Silicon Valley billionaires, middle-class families, even small-town mom-and-pop shops. Everyone is stampeding out of California like passengers abandoning a sinking cruise ship. And why? Because under Newsom's so-called leadership, taxes climb higher, regulations tighten like a vice, crime rises, and the everyday quality of life steadily erodes. Kelly paints the picture of a governor who couldn't successfully manage a lemonade stand, let alone steer the world's fifth largest economy without running it directly into the ground.
It's over the last few years, I'm trying to understand as much as anyone else. Whole pronoun thing, trying to understand all of that. Well, that was like the hell. I mean, all that stuff. I get it.
Oh my God. First of all, his hands are flailing. He gets so nervous and can't stop moving his hands. Right? It's to tell I'm uncomfortable, and I'm probably lying too. Hands above the midline moving can be.
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. And then there's Newsom's obsession with optics. He doesn't govern, he poses. The man could be standing in the middle of a wildfire, smoke choking the air, homes burning behind him, and he'd still pause to make sure the cameras capture his best angle. Kelly shreds that vanity, pointing out that while Californians struggle to keep the lights on, the streets safe, and their families afloat, their governor is busy polishing his image for a White House bid he pretends isn't happening. He insists he's dedicated to California, but Kelly calls out the obvious truth. This man is rehearsing for the national stage, using his own state's chaos as a prop, a stepping stone, and a political audition.
37% said that the snippets harmed their perception of the governor. So in other words, 26% overall said it harmed their perception of him. And among liberals, 37% said it harmed my perception of the governor. Among those who have very favorable opinions of Gavin Newsom, he lost.
She reminds everyone this isn't just about mismanagement, it's about rank hypocrisy. Newsom tells Californians to mask up, shut down, and sacrifice for the so-called greater good, but then sneaks off to dine at one of the most exclusive restaurants in the country during the peak of restrictions. The infamous French Laundry scandal wasn't a harmless slip-up. It was a crystal-clear window into who Newsom really is. To him, the rules are for everyone else. California isn't a community. It's his personal kingdom, and he's the slick-haired prince who enjoys the luxuries while his subjects suffer outside the gates. Kelly exposes that duplicity with surgical precision, reminding viewers that real leadership isn't about issuing commands. It's about setting a standard, living by example, and proving integrity when no cameras are rolling.
is smart to start this. And the reason he's smart to start it is because he has no muscles, Emily. None. He's a sinewy little weakling when it comes to arguing any of these issues, especially cultural issues, because he, like all liberals, has never had to do it. So now he's trying to get his training, which is smart on his part, and it would be smart on the part of conservatives to say no, because they declined to help him get in shape before the big bout. We're supposed to be helping Rocky, not Drago.
But Kelly doesn't stop there. She digs deep into how Newsom weaponizes progressive slogans while doing little to solve the crises ripping through California's communities. Homelessness has exploded on his watch, tent cities multiplying on sidewalks that once held thriving shops and bustling families. Streets littered with needles. Crime escalating. Ordinary residents living in fear behind locked doors. And what does Newsom do? He hurls taxpayer money at the problem like confetti at a parade, then smiles for the cameras to prove how much he cares. Kelly exposes the hollow truth. His so-called solutions are nothing but stagecraft, expensive smoke, polished mirrors, and political theater designed to distract voters from the brutal reality that absolutely nothing is getting better.
Come on, man. I mean, I get it. Those are legit, period. The issue of age, and, you know, as someone who's been so focused on LGBT and gay marriage, you know, the trans thing, I just like, I've been thinking about the pronouns. Yeah. That's how he answered that question, Rich. Are you okay with surgical procedures on an 8-year-old?
And when confronted with failure, Newsom never admits it. He deflects. Kelly calls him out for constantly shifting blame, pointing fingers at Republicans, Washington, climate change, greedy corporations, or any convenient scapegoat except himself. Every leader faces challenges, but Newsom has elevated excuse-making into a high art form. California wildfires, the housing crisis, mass business flight, national economic shifts, nothing is ever his responsibility. In the world of Gavin Newsom, he's always the misunderstood genius sabotaged by cruel external forces. Kelly obliterates that narrative, reminding viewers that real leaders don't outsource accountability. If you can't handle pressure, you shouldn't take the job in the first place. And then there's the arrogance. Newsom struts onto television with the smugness of a man auditioning for the presidency. He downplays it, plays coy, but Kelly points out the obvious. His entire carefully crafted act is designed to position himself as the Democratic Party's emergency backup plan, waiting in the wings.
Very strange, because when you listen to him, you would think like he's a moderate, but he's not. On the trans stuff and virtually every other subject, he is as radical as they come. He is another Kamala Harris, but there's something about him. Maybe he's a people pleaser, a vintage politician. When he gets across from these are our war fighters. And truly, like the three I mentioned, these are war.
He knows President Trump is running the country with strength, and he knows the Democratic bench is dangerously weak. So Newsom positions himself as the polished alternative, the guy who looks like he belongs in a glossy magazine spread rather than the governor's office. But Kelly dismantles that fantasy, making it clear that America doesn't need another perfectly styled face. It needs a leader who actually delivers results. Megyn Kelly has a gift for slicing through political fluff, and with Newsom, the fluff is endless. She highlights how his speeches overflow with buzzwords and lofty platitudes. Equity, transformation, bold vision, that sound inspiring but amount to nothing tangible. When it comes time to execute, California gets higher taxes, broken promises, crumbling infrastructure, and more families loading U-Hauls to flee the state. Kelly hammers the point home. Leadership is measured by results, not rhetoric. And in Newsom's case, the results are catastrophic. What makes Kelly's dismantling so brutal is that she doesn't just expose his failures, she makes him look absurd. She paints the image of a governor treating California like his personal Instagram backdrop. Wildfires raging. Perfect moment for a heroic photo op, homeless encampments spreading. Time for a scripted speech about compassion. What you have in Gavin Newsom is not leadership. It's theater dressed up as governance, a hollow performance staged for national ambition.
What you have in California is these mealy-mouthed, kale-eating, broccoli-pushing, Birkenstock
whatever, wearing politicians who can't find another person fast enough to blame. My absolute favorite, though, is the fire chief. She's growing on me. When she's not focusing on her lesbianism, she's actually quite fierce. She is not going down without bringing Mayor Karen Bass with her. And who could blame her?
Business is collapsing. Roll out a plan with a flashy name and absolutely zero results. Newsom governs like a man convinced politics is nothing more than theater, and Kelly tears the curtain down to reveal the dysfunction, chaos, and missed opportunities lurking backstage. While Newsom obsessively polishes his national brand, his own citizens are voting with their feet. Kelly underscores that the mass migration out of California isn't just a statistic, it's a damning verdict. Families, workers, and entrepreneurs have lost faith in their governor. They see through the gloss, the empty platitudes, the endless press conferences. And Kelly makes sure the rest of America sees it too. Because Newsom's ambitions don't stop at Sacramento, he's aiming much higher. Kelly ensures that by the time he steps onto the national stage, his disastrous record will follow him like a shadow he can't shake off. Gavin Newsom built his reputation on being the slickest man in the room, the guy who could smile as the walls crumbled and somehow convince half the audience that the disaster was part of the plan. Megyn Kelly wasn't about to let that slide. She ripped straight into the core of his carefully manufactured brand, proving this isn't a leader at all. This is an actor auditioning for the role of governor, somehow keeping the part despite failing every single test of leadership imaginable.
He would be so measured, and you're going to have that flailer with the hands and the stuttering and the come on, man, pulling the Joe Biden. Come on, man. It didn't work for Biden, and it's not going to work for Newsom. Like, I'm just seeing the runway of how the Republicans' chances are going to look. And right now I'm feeling good. Not necessarily about the midterms, but about the presidential race. Here's another thing. It's a little off point on the trans issue, but a great moment where Sean asked Gavin Newsom about why they were so able to very quickly clean up the city of San Francisco when Chinese President Xi Jinping came in 20.
California under Newsom has become the biggest contradiction in America, a land of dreams transformed into a land of tents, needles, and boarded-up storefronts. Megyn Kelly knows exactly why. Newsom is far more interested in posturing on the national stage than extinguishing the political and economic fires raging in his own backyard. He parades around as if he's destined for higher office, yet can't competently handle the one he already holds. It's like watching a man brag about running a marathon while gasping for air halfway down his own driveway. Kelly wastes no time dragging him over his obsession with appearances. Everything about Newsom screams image management, from the slicked-back hair that looks like it's been dipped in motor oil, to the carefully rehearsed sound bites that sparkle on camera yet say absolutely nothing. He's the human equivalent of a glossy magazine cover, photogenic on the outside, hollow on the inside. Kelly's roast cuts deep because she highlights that California doesn't need a model, it needs a manager. And Newsom doesn't manage, he performs. Consider the homelessness crisis. California spends billions every year, yet the tents multiply faster than campaign flyers dumped on doorsteps in election season, proof that money without leadership solves nothing.
I was so annoyed after, we ended our show on Thursday, was it? I don't know. Was it Thursday or Friday? About what's happening with the biological males out there. And this A.B. Hernandez, who is winning all the girls' medals, Hernandez. And I just did like a personal plea to people and got a lot of great feedback on it. So thank you for watching that. But then I took it to Twitter, and on X, I addressed Gavin Newsom personally. He follows me, so I tagged him. And I'm going to be honest, I begged him to please stop this for all the reasons stated on our YouTube feed. And he didn't get back to me. But I think
Kelly hammered this point, making it clear that Newsom uses crises as opportunities to virtue signal rather than solve problems. He'll cut a ribbon, give a polished speech, pose for photos, and then walk away as the disaster doubles. That's not governance, it's theater. And when the curtain falls, California's streets are still blanketed in misery while the governor congratulates himself for his performance. Then there's the economy. Businesses aren't just leaving California, they're sprinting out like evacuees from a natural disaster. Tesla, Oracle, Hewlett-Packard, corporate giants that once saw the Golden State as paradise are now building empires elsewhere. Kelly ripped into Newsom for acting shocked every time a company bolts, as if sky-high taxes, suffocating regulations, and crime-ridden downtowns haven't been screaming red flags for years. She painted him as the clueless landlord who jacks up rent, ignores the mold creeping across the walls, then feigns disbelief when tenants finally pack up and leave. But perhaps the sharpest edge of Kelly's roast came when she shredded his breathtaking hypocrisy. Newsom locked California down so brutally that kids were barred from classrooms, businesses were crushed, and families were torn apart, all while he enjoyed his own exemptions.
He feels the need to get their approval. That's how it feels. And he's getting excoriated by the left-wing press as a result. It's actually kind of amusing. We put together a budded soundbite. Take a listen here.
I thought that was one of the most inauthentic things I have seen Gavin Newsom do.
Wow.
I'm terribly,
so you don't believe in the let them hang themselves theory?
No, I'm terribly disappointed. I think you meet energy with energy. And what he did was he showed his pretty white teeth and his cute face and did nothing other than that.
And yet, while everyone else was told to sacrifice, the governor himself was spotted dining maskless at the exclusive French Laundry, sipping wine and savoring luxury, as though the rules applied only to ordinary Californians. Kelly called it exactly what it was, not just arrogance, but open contempt for the very people he claims to represent. It proved that in Newsom's California, there's one rulebook for the peasants and another for the king. But Kelly didn't stop at his failures. She went after his ambitions, too. Gavin Newsom has made it painfully obvious that he's positioning himself for the White House. He takes swipes at national issues, poses as the anti-Trump, and sells the fantasy that his crumbling state is a progressive paradise. Kelly's dismantling of that delusion was brutal. She made it clear that if Newsom can't competently manage California, a state with more wealth and resources than most countries, the idea of him handling the presidency is beyond laughable. Why promote a man who can't even keep his own house in order? Kelly framed him perfectly, a man obsessed with his reflection, blind to the disaster behind him. California's energy grid fails every summer, crime rates soar, public schools deteriorate, yet Newsom's main concern is whether the lighting flatters him during his next cable news interview.
You know, we hear a lot about San Francisco and the homelessness and pooping on the road and all that kind of stuff, and it seemed like all of that was cleaned up when Xi came to town.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Complete bullshit.
That's complete bullshit.
I know folks say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true, because it's true.
I got to credit Morning Wire, my pals over the Morning Wire who put that together. Such a good...
Kelly mocked Newsom's obsession with national media attention, painting him as the guy who's always at the party but never once helped set up a single chair. Her roast drilled deep into the growing resentment inside California itself. Residents who once believed in the state's promise are leaving in droves. Middle-class families, the backbone of any healthy state, can't even afford to stay. The dream is gone, replaced by a governor desperately trying to convince everyone that the nightmare is just a temporary inconvenience. Kelly stripped away his excuses and made it clear, California is not a victim of fate. It's a victim of Gavin Newsom's vanity. And the beauty of her takedown is that it wasn't just about California, it was about the entire style of leadership he embodies. Politicians who crave cameras more than solutions. Politicians who treat their office as a launch pad, not a responsibility. Newsom is the poster child for empty leadership, and Kelly lit that poster on fire. She didn't just obliterate Gavin Newsom's record, she shredded his myth. The myth that he's a bold, progressive leader. The myth that he's ready for the national stage. The myth that his failures are noble struggles rather than calculated negligence. By the time Kelly finished, Newsom wasn't the slick, untouchable figure he imagines himself to be. He was just another failed governor with great hair, hollow promises, and nothing real to offer.